Okay, now you're from Blackpool in the north of England, which is actually known as a resort town. But the Irish Sea seems kind of like an ironic place to have one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of weird because it's a holiday place, but then I don't really know who would want to go there with the weather. But I guess, England, we don't really have much choice for seaside resorts. So.
Now, we Americans always have the impression about the north of England being such a dreary place. Is that?
It can be kind of dreary, but the people make it, and the people are really friendly and just really honest, good people. So it kind of, the people make it. They have a lot of character. But yeah, it can be pretty cold and miserable, but that's the whole of England.
Okay, now your album's just been released here in America, and it's a little different now in the internet age. But what does it mean for a British artist to be making their American debut now?
I don't know. I think, I just didn't want to attach all the stigma of breaking America to it. I just wanted to be quite chilled about the whole thing. But yeah, I think it's just important for the American fans so that they can finally get their hands on it properly, and we come and spend some time here and do gigs and do things like this. So I think it's important just as an awareness thing, really. But obviously people could get the album before from the internet or from import.
What kind of what kind of places have you played so far on the
We just
tour?
did a tour. We did like the Fillmore in San Francisco and the El Rey in Los Angeles, places like that. We did the West Coast. We did New York as well. The High Line, and then we were doing this, and we're doing Coachella as well, so that should be cool.
Yeah, Coachella's intense. But you've done you've done the granddaddy of massives, Glastonbury.
Yeah, we did
So,
Glastonbury last June, yeah.
What was that like for,
It was great. Yeah, it's the first festival that we really did, so it was quite a learning experience. Like, by the end of the summer, we did about 30, and we just really could do festivals, we just knew what to do, but that was kind of daunting because the biggest and the first. But it's good because once you've done that, it's like everything's easy.
Okay, now the European press tagged you as the next big British pop sensation, the next Kylie Minogue. Does that add additional pressure on you to really have success here in America?
I think, when the album first came out in England, especially, there was a lot of hype, and it did put a lot of pressure on. Especially because I hadn't even finished the album, and already everybody was saying all these, ludicrous big statements. But I don't know, it's a year later, I've kind of been and done all that, I've done the whole chart game at home, and been around the world touring, and I just love what I do, and so now I'm here, I don't really feel under pressure at all. I'm just trying to enjoy it, and I just feel very grateful that I've been able to do all the things I have this last year.
Now, when did music become for you not just something that you studied or something that you were interested in, but when did you realize, this is a career path for me, this is something that I'm good at, and this is something that I want to do?
I guess it's what I always wanted to do. Like, I've been playing since I was 5 years old and singing probably since I was younger, so it's always what I wanted to do, but I think I realistically was too scared to believe it until something big happened. So I guess my last band, when we first got signed to an indie label, that felt like a big deal. When we first put our first single out, that felt, wow, someone wants to release our record. That was a big deal, and that was when I kind of thought this could be a real option, not just a dream.
We're talking with Little Boots, whose debut album, Hands, just been released here in America. Now, you've sort of been like a chameleon-like. You've gone through different phases in your musical life. When were you first introduced to electronic music?
I guess when I was about 16, all my friends were in bands, and no one really wanted a pianist, and everyone was very into prog, kind of progressive 60s, like psychedelic stuff was very hip at the time when we were at the college, and yeah, I remember seeing a live DVD of Yes and Pink Floyd as well, and like all these trippy bands, but they had synths, and I was just like, wow, they're playing keyboards, but they sound cool. What is this? And I looked into it, and I ended up buying a synth, and then I could get in the band because I was cool because I had a synth. And then just from there, really, I started learning about different synthesizers and who played them and what sounds were on what records, and it just led me into discovering all these amazing bands. A lot from the 80s really, when synths were at their high point. So a lot of bands like the Human League and Gary Newman, and a lot of great synth pioneers. It kind of just led me on this path, and Bowie and everybody else. So yeah, it was kind of cool.
And then what about the sort of DJing experience, the clubbing experience? When did that happen for you?
Well, that was when I moved to London, and I just left my old band, so it's kind of broke and didn't know what to do, and was hoping I'd get a record deal but wasn't certain, and So yeah, I need some money. So I managed to wangle a DJ gig, and then someone kind of taught me how to press go, and then and so I used to play at the pub every Friday for like £100, something for about 8 hours. And then a band I knew were touring. They said, "We can be our tour DJ." So I did this tour, and just from playing every night out of boredom, I kind of learned how to mix and how to do it. So just out of, I guess I picked it up quite quick. Some like do music anyway, but so and now I used to do it a lot, and now I just do it for fun, so.
All right, now I've got to ask you about the technology and the gear, because I saw your performance of Metal on Jules Holland, and I was really blown away by this. Tell us about these gadgets you have. You have this Japanese one that's quite well known in the press now. Remind me what that is.
That's called a Tenorion, which is like a sequencer, a square sequencer that lights up. Every beat you press or whatever sound you press, you program it, and so when the loop hits it will light up and make the kind of pattern that corresponds to what you're hearing.
All right. So
that's cool. That's a really new thing. And then I played the stylophone, which is a tiny little old kind of toy instrument that's a metal pen that hits. It's like a stylus that plays this metal plate. It's a keyboard. It makes quite an annoying sound, but it's pretty cool. Like David Bowie used it in Ashes to Ashes and stuff.
And where did you find these? Did you find these in junk shops? Or whatever?
They're just around. You just have to be on the lookout in studios, in junk shops. I think the stylophone I got in Urban Outfitters or something, because because they do reissues because they're kind of cool again.
Right on.
Yeah, so you just have to open your eyes to it, or just things that people think are toys or are just gimmicks. Think, how can I use this? Also,
it looked bloody hard to do. You were doing the hand claps, you were doing the stylophone thing.
Yeah, I can't remember how to do it anymore. I don't know how I did it. I must have just had a good day.
And plus, that was your debut on a really important show. You had to be really.
That show is the only show that's still totally live, live music, live on air and live, completely live music. So, but I was like, I've got to play because I wanted to play with my band, and they're like, no, we want you to exactly how we saw it on YouTube. And so I was like, I've got to play 4 instruments at once, live on television and on my own. And I was like, it can't get harder than that. And so any TV I've had to do since then, or any other live performance or anything like that, I just nothing can be as hard as that. So it kind of was the hardest thing first. It's a bit like doing Glastonbury as well. It's like we did all the hard stuff first time around, so everything else felt a lot easier.
You've done, in addition to your own songwriting, you gained quite a buzz doing these, homemade DIY style YouTube videos where you would often, cover obscure songs from Miley Cyrus, for example. Why is that something that you decided to do?
I just did it as a joke originally. Me and my friend were bored and we couldn't get on the guest list for this gig we wanted to go to, and so we stayed home and we just wanted to make some music, so we just played a stupid song and put it online and just thought it was funny. And then loads of people replied and said, do another one, do this, so I did another one, and then
you started taking requests?
Yeah, and I just thought it was funny, because I just cover songs anyway. It helps me write, it helps me just keep musical, so I always just learn other people's songs anyway, just when I'm sitting around at home. Not that I really do that anymore, but so I just thought it was funny, and then it just turned into this whole thing, and then I started putting some of my own ones up, but in stripped down versions, and then I got featured on YouTube on the front page. So I got loads of hits, and just became this whole thing. I don't really do it anymore, but it was fun when it lasted,
And sort of a nice byproduct of that is it develops this sort of grassroots personal connection with the fans as well.
Yeah, I think they're just very honest, silly little videos. I'm not singing my best, I'm not playing my best, there's mistakes, the phone goes off, I'm in my pajamas, they're just in my bedroom, which is always a tip. It's they're just very honest videos, which I think is why people like them, and why they touch people, because they're not trying to be perfect, because everyone is, studios now, you can auto-tune everything, you can beat match everything can just be so perfect, just automatically, that it takes the life out of it. So I think just the fact that they were just not trying to be perfect is what people liked.
Now, for a pop artist, part of the appeal is a sense of mystique. So how do you sort of balance the grassroots kind of connection with fans with keeping some mystery?
I don't really have much mystery, but I don't really care. I think we live in this digital age where people want to get so close to people. They want, all these magazines that are spilling everyone's personal details. You've got Twitter and Facebook and all these, you can get so close to people now. You know where people are all the time, even though you're not with them. And I just think it's a different age, and maybe pop stars of the future are not going to have mystique, and it's not going to matter because people want to know how they made that song, or what mood they were feeling when they did that, or what they wore for this show that they couldn't make it to. And maybe just, pop culture and pop artists are changing.
All right, Little Boots, thank you so much. Yeah, enjoy that. You can use it to clean your sunglasses or...
Thank you so much.
Thank you.